Welcome to Alma Tales Lab, where lying wives and sneaky girlfriends finally get exposed. From girls' trips that never happened to coworkers who were a little too friendly, we break down every red flag, messy receipt, and suspicious text with humor, shock, and just a little bit of petty. Expect wild stories, dramatic reactions, and satisfying karma as the truth comes crashing through the door. If you love relationship tea, plot twists, and seeing players get played, this channel is your new home. Every single chaotic, jaw-dropping, binge-worthy episode. Hit subscribe and never miss a fresh dose of exposed cheating. Don't forget to check our previous stories. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing my wife ever did was invite my boss to a charity gala. Not to support me, but to laugh at me in public like I was a punchline she'd already told behind my back. She stood there in her glittering dress, smiling like a saint, while she tried to shrink me into something small and disposable. Here's how it happened. I'm Kendrick Ward, a black man from the south side of Chicago, and I've always been the steady one. The kind who measures twice, cuts once, and doesn't raise my voice unless a building is on fire. When Brielle and I met, she made life feel like a highlight reel. We were both in Chicago then, me grinding in operations and logistics, her building Brielle Carter events out of a laptop and pure confidence. Our first real date was at a little spot in Hyde Park where the lights were warm and the music was smooth. She laughed at my corny jokes like she hadn't heard a better one in years. I walked her to her car, and she kissed me first, quick, bold, like she was claiming a win. I remember thinking, I can build a life with this woman. Early marriage was romantic in a way that felt private and real. Brielle would wake up before me sometimes and scribble sticky notes on my lunch. Go be great, Mr. Spreadsheet. I'd come home tired and find her dancing in socks in the kitchen, dragging me into it until I forgot the day. We'd ride down to the lake on Sundays, share fries, and talk about the future like it was already ours. She used to say she loved how calm I was. I used to say I loved how she made ordinary moments feel like celebrations. But over time, celebration turned into performance. Brielle started caring more about how things looked than how they felt. She'd take pictures of dinner before taking a bite, then complain the food was cold like I did it on purpose. She'd post date night with my king, while correcting me at the table like I was an intern. It was subtle at first, the way disrespect usually is. A little joke here, a little eye roll there. I told myself it was stress. I told myself every marriage hits rough patches. We moved to the DC area after I got a better role. Operations manager for a regional distributor, steady pay, benefits, the kind of job that keeps lights on and futures possible. We settled in Silver Spring, Maryland, close enough to the city, far enough to breathe. Brielle loved telling people we were in the DMV, like it sounded more important. At first, I thought the move would reset us. New place, new energy, new habits. But DC didn't change her. It just gave her a bigger audience. The funny thing is, Brielle could still be sweet when she wanted. She'd curl up beside me on the couch, steal my arm like it belonged to her, and say, I miss when you used to surprise me. Then she'd send me links to restaurants that cost more than my first car payment. I'd joke, ma'am, I manage shipments, not oil money. And she'd laugh until she wasn't laughing. That's how it started feeling. Like my humor was cute when we were alone, but embarrassing when she wanted to impress people. She began throwing little darts in public. At brunch with friends in D.C., someone asked what I did, and Brielle answered before I could. He does logistics, she said, stretching the word like it was a plain sandwich. Then she added, bless his heart, he loves his spreadsheets. Everybody chuckled. I forced a smile. Later, in the car, I told her it bothered me. She shrugged. You're too sensitive. I'm just being funny. The problem was, she never just joked when it made her look small, only when it made me look smaller. Around that time, her phone started living a separate life. Face down. Password changed. Client privacy, she said. I didn't want to be that husband checking devices, because I believed trust was a choice you make daily. But my gut kept tapping me on the shoulder like, wake up. She started going to planning meetings that ran late. She'd come home smelling like a cologne I didn't own. When I asked questions, she'd sigh like I was interrupting her greatness. Kendrick, don't start. I'm building something. as if marriage was a distraction, not a foundation. The romantic moments didn't disappear, they got weaponized. One night, she lit candles, poured wine, and put on that song we used to slow dance to in our first apartment. For a minute, I thought we were back. We danced in the living room, her cheek against mine, and she whispered, "I need you to trust me." It sounded tender, but it landed like a warning. The next morning, I found a receipt in her purse for a hotel in Arlington. When I asked her about it, she didn't panic. She smiled. "If you're going to snoop, at least be good at it." That's when I realized she wasn't scared of hurting me. She was confident I'd swallow it. The disrespect escalated. She'd come home and talk about men who understood ambition and glance at me like I was a speed bump. She'd criticize how I dressed. "You look like you're going to a job fair, not a gala," even though the same suit paid for our life. Then she started mentioning my boss, Mr. Calloway, more than made sense. "He seems sharp," she'd say. "He probably knows how to move in rooms." The way she said rooms made my stomach tighten. I tried to fix what was breaking. I planned a weekend trip to National Harbor. Nothing flashy, just a room with a view, dinner, and time. We walked by the water, and I held her hand like I used to. She let me, but her eyes were always somewhere else. At dinner, I told her, "I miss you." She smiled without warmth. "I'm right here." Then she spent 10 minutes taking photos of her plate. When I joked, "Tell your followers I said hey," she frowned. "Don't be weird." That night, she fell asleep scrolling. I stared at the ceiling and felt lonely beside my own wife. A week later, she told me about a charity gala in downtown D.C. Her voice got bright in that performative way. "It's going to be huge," she said. "High-level donors, real money, real connections." She looked me up and down. "You're coming with me, but you need to act right." I laughed a little because it sounded ridiculous. Act right? She didn't laugh back. "Yes, this isn't one of your warehouse meetings. Don't embarrass me." And right then, I understood. She wasn't inviting me to share a moment. She was inviting me to play a role. The day before the gala, I found the email by accident. On our shared iPad, the one she forgot was synced. I wasn't snooping. I was trying to print shipping paperwork for a side client. Her inbox popped open, and there it was, a message to Mr. Calloway, my boss. Brielle wrote, "Please come tomorrow. It'll be entertaining. He thinks he's important." My hands went cold, not because she invited my boss, but because she invited him to watch me be humiliated. I read it twice just to make sure my eyes weren't lying. I didn't confront her right away. I sat on the edge of the bed and let the hurt wash through me without rushing to speak. Brielle walked in humming, holding a dress bag like she was carrying a crown. "Don't you love this color?" she asked, smiling. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said softly, "You look nice." She preened. "I know." That's when I decided something important. If she wanted a performance, I'd give her one, but mine would be quiet, controlled, and final. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explode. I was going to move like a man who plans. Here's the part Brielle never understood about me. I don't do anything without paperwork. I had a small vendor relations LLC I ran quietly. Nothing dramatic, just smart business. Over months, I've been building relationships with suppliers, donors, and community partners through my work. When Brielle started talking about networking, she begged me to help connect her. So I did. I connected her to a sponsor funding stream through my LLC, and I secured the agreement for the gala. Brielle assumed it was her win. She didn't read the contract. She never reads the boring stuff. The boring stuff is where power lives. On gala day, Brielle treated me like a prop before we even left. In the hotel room near DuPont Circle, she adjusted her dress in the mirror and said, "Stand behind me when we get there." I stared at her. "Behind you?" She waved a hand like I was missing the obvious. "Yes, I need to be the focus. And please don't do that tight lip smile thing. It makes you look angry." I almost laughed because it was absurd. I said, "So you want me to smile like I'm happy to be disrespected?" She snapped, "Stop being dramatic." Then she kissed my cheek like a tip and grabbed her clutch. The ballroom was all bright lights and polished floors, the kind of place where everyone speaks in soft voices like loud truth would ruin the decor. Brielle walked in and immediately separated from me, gliding from group to group like a politician. I stood there holding 2 drinks, feeling like a coat rack in a suit. Every time I approached, She'd touch my arm briefly and then pivot away. When I tried to make conversation, she'd cut in with little jokes. "Kendrick's great with boxes," she said to a donor, laughing. "He moves things for a living." The donor chuckled politely. I felt my face heat, but I stayed calm. Then my boss arrived. Mr. Calloway stepped in with that confident corporate ease, scanning the room. Brielle's eyes caught him like a spotlight. She rushed over and grabbed his hand with both of hers. "Mr. Calloway, I'm so glad you made it," she said loudly. She turned, looked at me, and smiled that thin smile that says, "Watch me." When I came up, she didn't say, "This is my husband." She said, "This is Kendrick. He works for you." Like I was an employee she'd loaned out, not a man she vowed to love. Then she leaned in and added, "He's been stressed. You know how some men get." My chest tightened so hard it felt like I'd swallowed a stone. But I didn't react the way she wanted. I didn't get loud. I didn't plead. I just looked at Mr. Calloway and said calmly, "Sir, can I borrow you for 2 minutes? Somewhere quiet." Brielle's smile flickered. "Babe," I held up a hand gently. 2 minutes. We stepped into a hallway near the service doors, away from music and laughter. Mr. Calloway looked confused but willing. I handed him a slim folder, printed emails, dates, and the sponsor contract. "I'm not bringing drama to work," I said. "I'm bringing clarity." He read, and his face changed in stages: confusion, discomfort, then something like respect mixed with disappointment. "This is your wife?" he asked quietly. "Yes," I said, "and that's why I'm making a business decision tonight." I pointed to one clause. "The sponsor can reassign, presenting credit prior to print." "My LLC is the sponsor," I told him. "Not Brielle." Mr. Calloway exhaled slowly. "What do you want me to do?" I shook my head. "Nothing public. I'm not here to shame her. I'm here to remove my name from her mouth." When we returned, karma didn't arrive with thunder. It arrived the way consequences usually do, through staff members with clipboards. A coordinator approached Brielle's circle and said politely, "Ms. Carter, the presenting sponsor requested change. All signage will now reflect K. Ward Logistics." Brielle blinked. "What?" The coordinator continued, still professional. "Also, the sponsor table is reserved for sponsor representatives only. We'll need you to step away." Brielle's face tightened, and she looked around like somebody had slapped her without touching her. Her affair partner. Yes, he was there, shifted awkwardly, suddenly unsure where to stand now that the room's energy shifted. People didn't laugh at her, but they did something worse. They cooled off. Conversations drifted away from her like she was a candle losing flame. Her little circle thinned. Her smile stayed plastered, but her eyes sharpened with anger. She marched over to me, heels clicking like punctuation. "What did you do?" she hissed through her teeth, still smiling for anyone watching. I kept my voice low. I corrected the paperwork. She glared. "You ruined my night." I met her eyes. "You invited my boss to laugh at me. You've been trying to ruin my life. I just stopped letting you." She didn't apologize. She smirked. "You'll come home. You always do." That smirk is what made the ending easy. I left early, not storming out, not making a scene. I walked out like a man stepping out of a burning building without running. In the car, I didn't cry at first. I just drove in silence through D.C. streets that suddenly felt too bright. Then, at a red light near Georgia Avenue, it hit me all at once. How long I'd been shrinking to keep her comfortable. I let the tears come, quiet and heavy, and then I wiped my face and made calls. Not angry calls, practical ones, the kind that change lives. Weeks before the gala, I'd already started protecting myself because my gut wouldn't let me sleep. I rerouted my direct deposit. I opened a separate account. I signed a lease in Silver Spring under my name only. I gathered documents the way I gather shipping manifests, complete, dated, organized. I didn't do it to punish her. I did it because I finally accepted she wasn't going to stop. The next morning, Brielle came home confident, like she expected me to be waiting, wounded, and begging. The kitchen was quiet. The closet was half empty. On the counter, an envelope sat beside her keys like a calm goodbye. She opened it and laughed. Actually laughed, like the idea of consequences was funny. "You're really doing this?" she called out. When I didn't answer, she started calling my phone. The first 10 calls were rage. The next few were insults. When she finally texted, it wasn't remorse. It was poison. You were never on my level. You should have been grateful. That's when I knew I'd made the right choice. Love doesn't require you to be grateful for being tolerated. Brielle didn't want partnership. She wanted an audience and a punching bag. I refused to be either. The romantic part of this story is weird because it didn't come from her. It came from me finally remembering I'm allowed to love myself. In my new place, I started cooking again. Real meals, not takeout eaten in silence. I played music without checking if it matched someone else's mood. One Saturday, I caught myself dancing alone in my socks like Brielle used to, and I laughed out loud because it felt ridiculous and good. I even went back to the waterfront by myself this time and watched couples walk by. Instead of feeling bitter, I felt clear. Romance isn't just candles. It's respect, it's safety, it's kindness when nobody's watching. There are funny moments too, the kind that show you life keeps moving. My buddy Darnell helped me move the last boxes and said, "So this is what peace looks like? Bro, it's quiet in here. I can hear my own thoughts." "That's scary," I told him. "That's what happens when nobody's yelling at your spirit." He laughed and started inspecting my kitchen like a landlord. "You got seasoning?" he asked, dead serious. Because heartbreak is one thing, but bland chicken is where I draw the line. We laughed until our stomachs hurt, and for the first time in months, the laughter didn't feel borrowed. Brielle tried one more time to control the narrative. She showed up at my job, dressed like she was heading to casting call, smiling at reception. Mr. Calloway didn't entertain it. He asked security to escort her out quietly. No crowd, no spectacle, just a boundary. Later, my boss called me in his office and said, "I'm sorry you were put in that position." I nodded. "I kept it separate like you taught me." He looked at me for a long moment. "You handled it with more restraint than most people could." That was it. No applause. Just respect earned the hard way, and I walked out with my dignity intact. The karma for Brielle wasn't public humiliation. It was loss of access. She lost the ability to use my name, my stability, my resources, and my patience as fuel for her performance. Her affair partner didn't stick around once he realized the lifestyle she flashed wasn't actually hers to maintain. She didn't come back remorseful. She came back demanding, angry, blaming everyone else. That was the final proof she never loved me the way I loved her. Meanwhile, my life got quietly better. I focused on my work, grew my LLC, and kept my circle small. Peace became my new flex, and nobody had to see it for it to matter. Moral lesson: if someone keeps cutting you down in public and dismissing you in private, that isn't just jokes or just stress. It's a pattern, and patterns don't change with begging. They change with boundaries. Don't try to beat a toxic person at their volume. Beat them at their paperwork, their access, and your own self-respect. Love should never require you to shrink. The right partner won't treat your steady nature like it's boring. They'll treat it like the gift it is. I didn't get a viral moment or a standing ovation. I got something better, a quiet life she can't touch. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.